Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce. And Joyce, we've reached December. We're recording this on the last day of November, but it's December now if you're watching this.
Yeah, that's why your tree is up
already. I got this right here, Christmas tree.
It's
We're rolling. Season. It's the holiday season.
It's also the morning right now, but you would never notice that.
You can see it outside. There's lights. I don't know. How many ring lights I've bought, Joyce, in the last year? More than one is the answer.
But none of them fell on your head like they did on Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig. Joyce, we were talking here before. It's maybe a calm before the storm because there's not a lot happening right now. The Gotham Awards were Monday. The New York Film Critics Circle votes Friday. And then in the coming weeks, we'll have Golden Globes and SAG and all these different things. But right now we're just kind of like,
well, SAG is next month, but SAG voting starts Monday.
SAG voting. And so, yeah, like a little bit, we're just going to go through our picks, I think, Joyce, see what we're doing, an update for December.
Yeah, it's also post Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And a lot of people are, have their panties in a twist over the box office.
Oh, sure. Yeah. A lot of flops. Flop City. Flop City, and then also
how this might affect the Oscars,
right?
And a lot of hot takes about Glass Onion only being in theaters for a week too.
A lot of hot takes about Glass Onion, a lot of Fablemans, like we were saying, a lot of screener angst. I feel like what are people watching? That's what I was thinking of. I've been spending a lot of time thinking of that. Like what's on the digital link? What's on a disc? Who's putting in what?
Well, like the SAG list is they post their DVD or digital link screener. So a lot of them, I mean, and anyone could look this up. So a lot of them have been sent already. So it's just like who actually watched them over Thanksgiving if they care to. So
it's true. Yeah. I know for a fact that from a critical standpoint, Universal sent out theirs. I know Focus sent out a lot of links, it sounds like. And then certain movies are still
there's a lot of links. So the physical screeners for SAG here, let me see. So the most recent ones, they don't list a date on the site, but the asterisk ones are most recently mailed. So the most recently mailed ones for SAG are Argentina 1985, Armageddon Time, your fave, Bones and All, your fave, Catherine Called Birdie, Emergency, The Good Nurse, Lady Chatterley's Lover, which hits Netflix on Friday.
Yes.
Right? Master, Nanny, Tar, Till, The Woman King, Woman Talking, and The Wonder.
So good that
those are just recently mailed. There are other ones that they've already sent, like Banshees, that other studios have sent. Banshees, Blonde, Elvis, Hustle, your fave.
Love Hustle. Fablemans, I think Fablemans at least went out to critics, and she said it also.
Yes. Yeah, I think there's some of them, digital ones. Some of them are the same. Digital Causeway, our fave.
Nice.
Yeah. Emily the Criminal. Yeah, some of them overlap. Pale Blue Eye.
I've not seen that one yet, Joyce.
I have not seen that one either. Top Gun Maverick, digital.
Love Top Gun.
Yes.
So basically what we're saying is people have actually been able to see some of these movies if they've had the opportunity.
Them already. I don't know who hasn't seen Top Gun Maverick.
Right. But like Women Talking, I would say, like if you're watching from a SAG perspective, like at least we know the screener went out, even though the movie's not coming out for another few weeks. So but
it was supposed to come out this Friday.
Yes, it was. They put it back. But Joyce, so let's start. We have a lot to talk about. It's a potpourri, let's say. So I was going to go through our picks for Best Picture, Joyce. I have the same picks, basically. We just keep going. But I've made some tweaks. I have Fablemans, Everything Everywhere, Banshees. Then Elvis, I put up into fourth. We talked about this in our column. People are really psyched about Elvis, it sounds like. It's one of the at least if you hear the chatter of people who are like, I speak to Academy members, that pundit class, people love Elvis. They're rolling out for it. It's one of the ones that has real staying power. So I moved it up to fourth in my picks for Best Picture.
I mean, Elvis has always been big, and I think this might be another one of those disconnects where it's not a film Twitter fave. It's kind of like Bohemian Rhapsody, I feel like, but not. Like the movies are different except for the fact that they're music biopics. Mm-hmm. But I think it's like that same kind of vibe where I think people are kind of like ignoring how big it is until it's too late.
Right.
Even though it's right in their faces.
I also think, and we could talk about this, and like I was just thinking about this from the perspective of the movies that are popular this year. It seems like Elvis, Everything Everywhere, and Top Gun are 3 movies that people remain infatuated with for different reasons. And I wonder now, because of how everything is relatively different with how people see movies, if the earlier in the year dates are going to be more effective going forward, right? I mean, I think like Elvis, if it came out now, maybe would have been lost in the shuffle, but because it was such a big hit and like came out when people had less to focus on, it's been one that's stuck around. And same with like Top Gun and Everything Everywhere. I don't know. I'm just like, that seems like it could be a trend going forward, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, it's also kind of, I don't know. I feel like even if Elvis opened over Thanksgiving, let's say, I think it would have still done well.
Maybe
over Thanksgiving weekend. I mean, like Elvis is like an IP anyway, you know.
It's true. I guess one of the reasons I think it did so well over the summer is that it was just there all summer, right? There wasn't a lot of movies
no,
out.
It's like similar to like the Emmys, where you know the trick used to be you would backload your releases of your top shows towards the end of the eligibility period in the spring, so it's top of mind, recency bias, and like, you know, like in the Oscar seasons, like, you know, last quarter, that's when all the Oscar movies drop. But there's just so much content now, and viewing habits are also different, that it's like you might benefit from having more runway to yourself.
I think that maybe is true now for movies too. So anyway, Elvis 4th, I have Glass Onion in 5th. I'm so bullish on Glass Onion, Joyce. It's a great movie. It's one of my favorites of the year, and I feel like the hubbub about the box office only helps it further. And I still do not know one person who did not really like it. So I feel like that alone helps it as a candidate here for Best
Glass
Picture.
Onion is the only movie I personally know, like regular folks who saw it in theaters over Thanksgiving. Like my cousin saw it on Thanksgiving Day.
So it's like a big thing. I have Top Gun 6th, Women Talking in 7th, Tar in 8th. Then I have Babylon in 9th, and The Woman King I put back in 10th. That means I dropped She
after
Said.
Like I guess it's 3 months now, almost 3 months.
So I dropped She Said, and I dropped
you got rid of your beloved She Said.
I love She Said, and I still think it's like one of the great movies of the year. And I also, again, just purely anecdotal, I talked to other people this week who have seen it and liked it. It seems like people really do like the movie when they see it. There are obviously exceptions beyond like Harvey Weinstein, but like, I don't know, I think it could do really well, but I just remain like, I think because of the coverage of the box office, I feel like that's a demerit, even though I don't think it's super fair, because like we said, a lot of these movies have quote unquote flopped. And then also it just feels like it's lost in the shuffle because Universal is so focused on Fabelmans, right? Like, I mean, like that is definitely their priority. So I don't think it's out, but I'm like, I don't have it in now. I put Woman King back in because
I
remains
took it
hanging
out
around
before it even opened in theaters. Yeah, I think it's just like in a very weird spot, because I also feel like I think the movie's great as well, and I liked it a lot, but it also doesn't have the same type of raves as something like Tar does, you know.
And I was thinking
that could like help sustain its momentum, and then obviously like the terrible box office headlines does not help.
And I was thinking from like a screener perspective, even though I don't think it's definitely not a bummer, even though it's a heavy subject. I'm like, if you had the choice between Woman King and She Said, I mean, I guess most people would have been like, let's put Woman King on, you know, that kind of thing. I'm like now in that mode. So that's why I put Woman King back in, because I just feel like it's watchable. And Sony is
it's
not
also like
if
you brought like these like screeners to like your family Thanksgiving or something, most of your family members, I would hazard to guess, would pick like Woman King and not like She Said.
Yes. So I do think that. So anyway, I put Woman King back in, and I have Babylon Hang On in 9th. We'll see. That comes out obviously in a few weeks, but I don't know. So that's it. That's I saw you have no Avatar, no She Said, no The Whale. You know.
So the only change I made recently was I just replaced Avatar with Glass Onion, but I don't know, maybe next week after I see Avatar, I'll just put Avatar back in.
So you're still riding Triangle of Sadness, Joyce.
I don't really like not like want to, but like I'm not like confident in that. It's just like I don't know what else to put there.
Right.
Like I guess I did think about having Glass Onion and Avatar, but then I'm like, I have so many sequels because I already have Top Gun.
Correct. I'm glad you put Glass Onion in. I really think that's going to happen. I mean, I had Glass Onion in
before. I just dropped it for like like again, like the sequel reasoning. So I don't know. And like Triangle of Sadness, I don't I can see it just being like a screenplay nominee.
Right.
And like Fifth Picture, I don't know. Like I personally thought it was like good, like it was fine. I think now like Babylon is gonna overtake it as the movie with the most like bodily fluids.
Yes.
I actually like I enjoyed the first part of Triangle of Sadness more than the later stuff. I felt like a lot of the scenes went on too long. I thought the most interesting stuff was in the beginning, especially with like Gaia.
Right.
And yeah, I know like a lot of like film Twitter people are trying to hype up Dolly de Leon and supporting. Like she's probably a dark horse, but I feel like like her last scene is like really good in it too, and I think that's it leaves like a lasting impression. So maybe that's also good for its best picture prospects as well. But yeah, I don't know. So I just like have it in there.
Nice. I mean,
as a like a placement holder.
It definitely could get in, obviously, and we've seen like Cannes winners get in before.
Yeah, so. I would say it's not like, again, it's not like a totally raved like beloved
it's not either, it's polarizing, so. But like so is Babylon. So like, I mean, polarizing is not necessarily bad at this stage. It's just,
no, I don't even know if it's like polarizing, but it's I don't think like everyone would love it, and it's kind of like doing the same type of like satire as The Menu. It's like very similar like that to Menu, a sleeper box office hit actually. So
it is. I wish I liked it. Okay, it's just sleeper box office hit.
I did not dislike it like you did. I just think I think it was clear that they did a lot of tweaks to the script.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Yeah.
So I still have Fabelman's winning, and I assume you do as well.
Yes.
I don't know what would be the alternate, though. I think I can make a strong case. I mean, Everything Everywhere won at the Gotham Awards, which we'll talk about here. That doesn't necessarily mean a whole lot. Only 5 people are in the juries, basically, for these categories. So,
and obviously, Fabelman's was not eligible.
Right. And like the Fabelman's has, like you said, like not the greatest box office so far, but it doesn't really matter. And I'm sure it'll, people are going to watch it. I'm sure it'll be on like.
It's also like it did totally fine. It was in fewer theaters than Glass Onion. People are acting like it flopped like She Said did, which was in 2,000 theaters.
Right.
Like, no,
right.
It was fine. Did it do gangbusters? No. But it did better than Bones and All, which was in almost 3,000 theaters, and no one is talking about that like it's a flop, because then everyone will make the argument that like, oh, it's about cannibalism, so obviously no one's going to see it.
Right.
But still, it still flopped like She Said did in over 2,000 theaters.
It did. All of these movies are flops, as it turns out. But I'm like, I don't know. But Fabelman's I still have winning. I think I watched it again, Joyce, and it's good.
We know you did.
And it's still incredibly watchable. It's just so watchable, I think. And like, I think that'll help it from a screener perspective. And when people are watching it at home, I don't, it's like we said, like it's a long movie, but it doesn't feel long at all. The filmmaking is so quick, and like the editing is perfect. And like all of this is calibrated so much that I feel like it doesn't even drag like something like Everything Everywhere does, I feel, even though I think it's a good movie, like it does drag. So I still have Fabelman's winning. I'll be curious to see, like, I kept waiting for Banshees to get like another, to like step up as maybe the alternative to winning, but it hasn't really happened yet. And I don't know if it will.
I have never seriously thought about Banshees winning. It just feels like one of those like very liked, acclaimed movies that might win somewhere else, but not Best Picture.
Right. For best,
and it's one of my faves of the year. That's like not a knock to
good
it.
Movie.
It's just just knowing what the Academy is like.
Yes. Well, it's coming to HBO Max and Hulu, I think, Joyce, on December 16th.
Yeah, a lot of these so-called flops are hitting VOD very soon,
which will be great. For best director, Joyce, Spielberg just running away with this for me. And then I have the Daniels, Mark McDonagh, Sarah Polley, and because I put The Woman King back in, I put Gina Prince Bythewood back in as well. I don't know. I'm just like, sure. Like, I feel like this is again
does it also have anything to do with her tribute at the Gothams on Monday too?
It has to do with that, and also I feel like they are pushing. Sony is like has renewed a push for Woman King, I feel like, and
they've definitely done a lot of screenings and Q&As.
And I wonder, I do feel like this is like maybe a 3, like you said, like it's Spielberg, and then it could be literally any 4 of these directors could be in here. So I don't know if there's really any locks beyond Spielberg. And I'm just like, she's got to have as good of a shot as like at this point as like Damien Chazelle or James Cameron or whatever. As silly as that might sound, like I just think they're like, there's no, why not her? So I have her in. I mean, it is a good movie, and like I think we said when it came out, it's like recalls the Gladiator, Braveheart style of filmmaking that people enjoy. Now, granted, those directors, I mean, Ridley Scott and Mel Gibson. So I don't know, but we'll see.
So no Joseph Kosinski for you.
I keep wanting to put him in, but I'm just like, I just don't think. I think people are not considering him. I think it's much more of a Tom Cruise is the author of the movie.
Yeah, Tom Cruise is the author of Top Gun.
So that's why I don't have him in, but I have it in everywhere else.
I can see him getting into DGA and just not.
That would be cool.
Here. The only change I made was I dropped Damien for Park Chan-wook for Decision to Leave.
Nice.
As the international spot.
Sure. Definitely could see that happening. I think why not? Again, this is a very fluid category, but no matter
like
who...
I have Spielberg, obviously. I have Daniels still. I have Todd Field still, Sarah Polley, and I could see all 3 of them.
So I took Todd Field out. I could have put him in too. I'm like, I think I don't know. I have him in for Screenplay.
I mean, I also want to put in Martin McDonagh, and I can't.
So I have McDonagh in instead of Field. I don't know. I no matter what, I'm like, Spielberg is still winning this. I feel like he has become the Jane Campion of this year. No matter what happens with Fabelmans or everything else, like I feel like he will win on Oscar night. I honestly can't imagine another scenario. Really, I just feel like it's so it's so clearly like he makes it's worthy of the win, and then also the fact that it's like a lifetime achievement win as well, and based on the movie that he's made here, it just checks all the boxes.
Yeah, and I think like I don't really know what the general public's consensus of the Fabelmans is, of the people who saw it this weekend, which, if you believe everything you read, was not a lot of people.
Right.
But I feel like directors and his peers would really appreciate what he is saying about filmmaking and directing in general with the movie, and just like everything Sammy does in there, and how with filmmaking and movie magic, you can just manipulate reality and tell a story, and how some things in a film or just in snapshots are staring you right in the face, and then how sometimes you have to look at a larger picture and like cut things together to deliver a different message and realize something else is happening here. So I think like that part of that craftsmanship, I think people in the industry would really appreciate in a way that maybe general movie fans might not. They might just see this as like, oh, he just made a movie about his life, good for him.
Right.
Sure.
And this will happen when we'll talk about this, obviously, after the nominations. The other thing I'm seeing, in my opinion, or at least I'm sensing, is that there's not really a consensus too either. So like we said, like this is a very fluid category, but I'm like, we'll see once the nominations happen, like if there becomes a consensus too, but I just don't know who would beat him. You know what I mean? Like, I think all the potential nominees here would have pockets of like strong support, but none of them would cumulatively add up to able to take him down. I guess that's the other reason I have him in at the top.
Yeah, I mean, you just need like some like an alternative, and or just like some movie to break out.
Right.
And like Coda last year broke out way too late.
Right. And after the nominations,
it broke out like, after they won SAG.
Right.
And so Sean Hader did not materialize literally anywhere.
And if Sean Hader had won, like if Sean Hader was nominated, she easily could have won, honestly, as crazy as that may sound. Like but she wasn't, like you said, never materialized. I mean, to me, the only movie and only director I think who could have could have that kind of run would be like Rian Johnson, because I do think like Glass Onion is a beloved movie and will continue to be like beloved as it goes on. But I don't think he's anywhere. I
still don't think they see it as like a directorial.
No,
like it's more of a writing thing.
Right. For Best Actress, Joyce. So I have the same 5 that I've had: Cate Blanchett, Michelle Williams, Michelle Yeoh, Margot Robbie, and Danielle Deadwyler. Danielle Deadwyler won at the Gotham.
Have Margot in there.
I do have Margot in there. I think that she's gonna get in. I just find that performance like so big, and like she's really good in it. I still think it's worthy, and I don't know. I think the alternate is definitely Viola at this point, because I think like Olivia Colman in Empire of Light is not really popped, and Jennifer Lawrence in Causeway, I think, has been overshadowed by Brian Tyree Henry in Causeway. So I could see Viola Davis getting in, but I'm just like, I do think that because Thuso Mbedu is so good, like that could split the lead vote, even though they're going to run Thuso in supporting. So I don't know.
I mean, I don't think that's a factor at all. Like, I don't think it's like a, you know, Lakeith Stanfield situation where they were just having trouble filling out the supporting actor category.
Right.
You know, like, but, I think they will accept Thuso in supporting.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't think there's going to be like a lot of people. I mean, I'm sure there will be some people who might nominate her in lead, but I don't think it'll be so much. And like, Best Actress are already stacked, so it's not like we're struggling to fill out that category.
Right. That's true. But I have Danielle in there still. She won at the Gotham Awards, Joyce. That was a big deal for some people, even though it's only 5, the jury, Joyce.
Yeah, only 5 people. You know, good for her candidacy, because now UA can use Gotham winner in all their marketing. She wasn't there. She did not give a speech.
No,
she did not attend, so.
It was the lead performance category, so she's up against Brendan Fraser, Cate Blanchett, and Michelle Yeoh. Mm-hmm. And then others, obviously. But like those are the, from our perspective, from an
including
perspective,
Colin Farrell for After Yang, not Banshees, which was an
So, I mean, in that capacity, that was like a strong showing, and I think like, especially after being snubbed by the Spirit Awards, that kind of like put her back in at least the conversation.
I mean, I don't know when their voting timeline is.
No, I guess the other thing,
or like when it closed. I mean, it's just 5 people. Like, I'm sure they just like Zoom and like talk about this or something. I don't know, but I'm not saying it's a reaction to it, but I just don't know when their voting deadline is.
No, I'm just still I'm still like, will people? I mean, not like that was always the conversation. It was like, will people watch Till? I still am like, will people watch Till? And now that it's on the screener, like we were saying, like if you bring a list of screening links or screeners to your Academy members' Thanksgiving dinner, are you going to like pick Till? I think you might, because you've heard so much about the Danielle Deadwyler performance, but I don't think it's a top priority one, because it's just limited to her performance, unfortunately, right? Like nobody is considering the movie in a lot of other categories. So it's not like an Elvis or, you know, even like a Woman King, where it has like a lot more, you know, there's a lot of other things that it's contending for, let's say, seriously.
Yeah. And I don't know, like I agree, like you might hear a lot of hype about her performance, you may want to watch it for that, but I think you might also, the movie's not a downer, no, but it is about a very serious subject matter, and I could see you just, especially if it's like over the holidays, just like not being in that mindset to want to watch this movie about Emmett Till.
Yes. You know? So who do you have in this category now?
I have the same 5. I have not changed this.
Nice.
So it's like nothing's changed.
No.
Still the same order: Cate, Michelle Williams, Michelle Yeoh, Danielle, and Viola. I mean, I'm not like sold on this. Like, I don't think Viola is safe, but I have no one to really, I mean, I don't feel confident enough in someone else to drop her yet.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. So, and yeah, so, you know, who did get to give a speech at the Gotham Awards? Who? Michelle Williams.
She did.
She got a tribute presented to her by Paul Dano because Steven Spielberg got COVID.
So we've been talking about this, and I still haven't switched her, but I really think this could end up with her winning. I'm just like, while the Cate Blanchett is like obviously incredible and Michelle Yeoh is beloved, I don't know if there's a lot of momentum for either of them to win. And I think Michelle Williams is so beloved in the industry and like just in general, I could really see her winning, especially because Fabelmans is such a strong Best Picture option.
I think so. Cate will probably do the best among critics groups. I think Michelle Yeoh and Danielle would probably do better. I think Cate will do well with the top critics groups, and I think Michelle Yeoh and Danielle would do better with the regionals.
Yes.
And then I feel like Michelle Williams is not like quote unquote cool, or like that movie and that role is not cool enough for a lot of these critics to actually award her. But I don't know, she could win the Globe or the SAG.
I really think she could win SAG,
but
honestly.
Yeah, like I think we talked about this last week, where it feels like her performance is kind of the platonic ideal. I think the thing is, a lot of people are just kind of like looking down on her part as like just a mom. And she's not the central character of the Fabelmans like a lot of these other women are in their films, you know. But she does have substantial screen time, and her arc is heavily tied to Sammy's in the movie.
Yeah.
And she gets to go through a lot of stuff and do a lot of stuff in there. And I think like it's just like she does like elevate that role in a lot of ways, even though like on paper it looks like quote unquote boring, you know.
She's really good in it, I think.
Yeah, so I think like that it like a lot of people can respond to it that way, because like, you know, we've talked about you know, Lydia Tarr, you know, like who I love,
right,
but not everyone's cup of tea,
right.
And like Michelle Yeoh, like that movie might be too weird for some older voters, you know. And then Till is like visibility, like I think most people who watch it like Danielle in it,
right.
But it's like, will they watch it? So I don't know what we were talking about. So
no, I you're right. I think you're right. I'm just like, I haven't switched anything like you said, but I'm just like, I think when we get down to it, I think Michelle Williams could easily win here. I don't
and
think
she gives good speech, as we've known. Like,
and
she has not won
a
lot of stuff, but like when she, you know, she won everything for Fosse Verdon.
Right.
Those speeches were fire. And then her speech on Monday was also amazing, because she spent a very long time giving props to Mary Beth Peil, aka Grams.
Yes.
So
I mean, like, I look at it, I'm like, in the end, we'll talk about this for months, because this will end up being like the top 3 probably for the Oscars anyway. But I'm like, Cate Blanchett doesn't necessarily need another Oscar, and that doesn't really matter. Like, we've seen like Frances McDormand won 3, obviously, here, or won a 3rd recently. But I'm like, you know, the performance is amazing, and I think it's like Daniel Day-Lewis-esque. But like, they might just be like, okay, like, what about Michelle Williams has never won? The narrative on her is so strong, and the movie is probably the strongest of these 3. Then maybe that she just wins. I don't know. We'll see. But best actor, Joyce. Again, not a lot changed here. I really want to change so much of this, but I haven't yet.
I want to just have 4 people here.
So I have Austin Butler, Colin Farrell, and Brendan Fraser for The Whale. Of note, with Brendan Fraser in The Whale, did not win at the Gotham Award. So another data point, perhaps, in that if you're expecting him to run away with Best Actor, there's a lot of suggestion that that's not necessary. It's not as much of a slam dunk, I would say, as like some of the other categories maybe we've seen in the past.
Yeah, has he actually won anything yet? Because he didn't win Volpe.
No.
He obviously was snubbed at Spirits, so he didn't get the nomination there. And then now he lost this. And I think, I don't know what the odds were, but I think, you know, a lot of people were predicting him, or he was like, you know, no one would have been shocked if he had won.
No, I think he was like in 3rd, honestly.
Yeah.
I think it was like Cate, Michelle, and then Brendan were the top 3.
Yeah, but I agree, like the expectation or the narrative or whatever is like, oh, he's just gonna sweep his way through.
And we haven't necessarily seen that yet. And the other 2 I have are Bill Nye and Tom Cruise. I have not switched out. But boy, Joyce, I want to switch all of them. I want to put Adam Sandler in for Hustle, Gabriel LaBelle in for Fabelmans. Let's go. But I haven't done it.
That's only because you rewatched Hustle for what, like the 27th time last night?
So I watched it again last night. Movie's great. And Sandler is so good. And I guess if I was going to talk myself into him getting a nomination, it would be Netflix is definitely aware that there's an opening there for Best Actor, so they've been pushing him as like a serious contender for.
He also got a tribute at the Gothams.
Yeah, a tribute at Gothams. They've been doing like SAG screenings. I think he's a very possible SAG nominee, honestly, because he's so liked. I think the movie. I was thinking about this because obviously he was snubbed for Uncut Gems, which I think is an amazing movie and a great performance. But that movie was very polarizing and not for everyone, and it was definitely like Adam Sandler's doing something now, right? Like, he's pushing himself as an actor, which is something he hasn't really done. He did Punch Drunk Love, and like, obviously has dipped in his toe into doing more serious fare, but mostly he's like the Happy Madison guy doing like his Netflix vacation movies in the last like 10 years. And so Uncut Gems was like, oh, cool, but we're not going to just immediately invite you into the party for one performance. And I'm like, Hustle feels like a great mix of the Happy Madison brand, but also like a serious performance. It's like a very generic, in a good way, sports movie. And like, I don't know, I'm like, I could see him getting a SAG nomination. I don't think it'll get an Academy nomination, but I haven't put him in, but I would love to. I mean, he's good in the movie. It's a very straightforward performance, but he's good.
It is.
And then Gabriel LaBelle.
Sponsored by the NBA. Great film.
Yes.
They've definitely picked up the campaigning.
Yeah.
Recently.
They have. I mean, like, and Gabriel LaBelle, I would say for Fabelmans, just because he's so good in the movie, I think it's a long way uphill to get in, and like maybe not Tom Cruise or Bill Nye. I'm like, I have no idea, Joyce. I want the three. I know the three are getting in, and then that's it. I don't know anything else.
Can I just go to 4? Do I need to have a fifth?
No, you have to have,
because I still have Hugh Jackman in here.
So that's gotta go.
But I don't know. But like, who am I going to replace him with?
I don't know. You
like,
tell me. Well, I mean, people who at least are, I know people are excited about would be like Paul Mescal for After Sun.
I feel like that's just too small. I mean,
Jeremy,
it'll be cool, but I don't know.
Jeremy Pope for The Inspection. I've seen people kind of float, but it hasn't really materialized in any serious fashion. Diego Calva for Babylon. Someone named Will Smith, Joyce, for Emancipation.
Great press tour this week.
So that's coming out Friday. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but it's coming out. There it is. Will Smith, and he was on Trevor Noah talking about how he hopes his actions don't penalize the movie. I don't think anybody's taking him really seriously as a contender, but he's definitely got better odds than like Gabriel LaBelle at the moment.
Again, if the slap didn't happen, I would just put him in.
Obviously. And I'm like I said to you, I'm like nervous about Bill Nye because I just don't, I mean, I never want to doubt Sony Classics, but that movie is not really taken off.
Well, it's not out yet, but
No,
I feel like
but
because this category is so soft, like I think he's fine. And I think if he hasn't yet, like he's probably usurped Hugh as their number one. Because the Sun also opened, they changed their release strategy. It opened in LA and New York over Thanksgiving. But then it's going to be released in January now.
Right.
So, because it was supposed to just open everywhere over Thanksgiving. But yeah, like Bill, so I think like the top 4 are fine. And then I don't like, should I just put Tom Cruise in?
I don't know. I mean, I don't understand. Like, I have Tom Cruise in, and I've had Tom Cruise in for months, honestly, but I just don't believe it because I don't understand why he would get in for like,
exactly. That's why
year.
I still have Hugh, because I'm like, who am I gonna replace him with?
I don't know. I mean, Adam Sandler. I don't know what to do here. I have no idea. And I think this is a fun category because I think on Oscar morning we could be greatly surprised, right? Because you could have like one person. I mean, I was like honestly consider like Daniel Craig for Glass Onion. Why not?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the precursors fell out. Like I can see Daniel getting in at SAG.
Me too.
And again, I have Tom Cruise in at SAG.
Right. So I'm like, I think I might have them both in at SAG.
I actually put Bill Nye in at SAG because I'm just like running out of options here. So
it is absolutely a wild category. I don't no idea what to do.
You know what? I'm just gonna put Tom in because I'm just like, I don't know. Sure, why not?
And we'll talk about what we think is going to end up winning. But I would say again, Austin Butler and Elvis remaining an Academy fave. Austin Butler, a future SNL host, Joyce. I just think like they're doing a great job getting him back out there, and the movie remaining highly in the consciousness. That's another director, not to double back, but I'm like, Baz Luhrmann could get in easily for best director. I would say no one's really talked about it, but
21 years too late after his Moulin Rouge.
I mean, he could. Like Elvis is liked.
I mean, like both he and Todd Field can get in 21 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah, Elvis, I still have Austin in first. And yeah, people just love that movie, and people love him in it. Yeah, I don't like we talked about this in our column last week, but most of my friends' parents love this movie.
It seems like
it's a great boomer movie for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And they are all in love with Austin Butler, not just women, like the men too, like dads.
It's an incredible performance. It's very likable. And I'd say, like, while I have issues with the movie itself, because I think it just is, it's a very long movie, Joyce. I would say the best thing in the whole movie is the last like 10 or 15 minutes. And he's so incredible in that end scene.
It's very moving.
Yeah, it's good. He's really good. So
yeah, and then they're gonna, I mean, like Boz has been teasing the 4-hour like Austin Butler Elvis concert.
Right.
So like that's another, you know, ace up their sleeve that they could drop, and like the Elvis stands would just eat that up.
Right.
Yeah, they also had a lot of, because I know like Austin has been shooting a movie, The Bike Riders, like in the fall. So I'm assuming either like they're giving him a break, or maybe they've already wrapped, but like he's been doing a lot more press now. And they had like a bunch of screenings last week that were just like packed and overflowing. They needed like an overflow theater for one of them. And yeah, I know someone who went to like back-to-back days screenings.
Wow.
Yeah.
People love Elvis.
They love it.
They love it. For supporting actress choice, this is just chaos magic here. I have Jamie Lee Curtis winning for Everything Everywhere. I still have her getting nominated, sure. I have Claire Foy, Kerry Condon, Jessie Buckley, and Carey Mulligan. But I really was going to drop Carey Mulligan, Joyce, for Hong Chow or anybody else, but I've kept her in.
I've made no changes here. So I still have Jessie, Claire, Hong, Carey, and Nina Haas, obviously.
Wow. I'm not going to go on the Nina Haas train still. I was going to say maybe Stephanie Sue for Everything Everywhere, but I just feel like, I don't know. I just am like not convinced that could support 2 nominations here, but I'm also not convinced Women Talking could support 2 nominations here. I don't know really. I mean,
no, this is the most fun category out of the acting categories, because we can have just completely different lineups, or no, maybe not completely different, but maybe just like 1 or 2 crossovers at like all the precursors.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I think like someone like Janelle Monáe has got a great shot at like a SAG nomination, but I
have Janelle in at the Globes and SAG,
but I don't have them in here.
So,
it's Angela Bassett, Joyce, another one who could easily get in.
I don't have her in anywhere.
I could see her getting in at SAG, but I don't have her in here. So I'm like,
I mean, I don't know. I mean, there are definitely. Did you see that the ad that Marvel tweeted yesterday? Yeah. Yes. they're definitely going for it.
Right.
But I also feel like even now, it's been like 3 weeks since Black Panther came out. I feel like that hype has kind of died down.
I 100% agree. I'm just saying, like, I could make the case for it. And I have Carey Mulligan in just because it's a lead. It's the biggest. It's the meatiest performance here because it's a lead performance, basically. Not that I care about the category fraud, but she definitely has the most to do of these potential nominees. And I just think she's really good in the movie. And I think she is not, even while the movie has kind of dropped out of, or has not popped, I feel like she continues to rack up like at least some recognition in few spots, and I could see her getting in.
Yeah, I have not added her. You know, I've thought about it, but I've been moving off of that. So I mean, she's definitely better positioned to get in than Zoe Kazan is in Best
for
Actress.
Sure. And I mean, that's why they did that, obviously, too, right? Like, so.
Yes, well, but like their party line is that like they don't want to compete against each other in the spirit of the movie.
Right.
So
for supporting actor, Joyce, we talked about this in the column, and you'll be surprised to know I did it. But I have Ki-Hu Kwan for Everything Everywhere All at Once. He won at the Gotham Awards. The Troy Kotzer, the on the path of Troy Kotzer to just steamrolling here through the season. But I have Brendan Gleeson and Judd Hirsch and Paul Dano, even though I'm not convinced either of them get in. And then Mr. Tom Hanks for Elvis, Joyce. I did it. I put him in.
because of all the Elvis screenings.
Yes. I'm just like, you know what? So he's definitely in the Jared Leto prosciutto ham performance category. So I feel like he'll definitely get in for SAG because they seem like they'll really appreciate that level of artistry. And I don't know if that will translate to an Oscar nomination, but I think it could because Tom Hanks is Tom Hanks and much more beloved than Jared Leto. So that's my rationale.
But he also had to wait 19 years for his next nomination.
True. True.
I've always had Ki Hee Kwan here, so still have him. Don't think, unlike supporting actress, don't think I'll be changing that.
No, I think he's gonna go all the way also.
Yeah, he might be the one category sweeper.
Just an irresistible narrative, and he's just wonderful.
Yeah, also gave a great speech.
Great speech. And it's like the more speeches he gets to give, the more the momentum is gonna go forward. So
yeah, and also it's similar to like Carrie and She Said, like you were saying, like I think he is a supporting performance and everything everywhere, but he does have a lot of substantial screen time and a great arc for Wayman, and he gets to play 3 characters basically, so a lot of range, and also the most relatable, not like sympathetic, character, in the film. And then the most beloved line in there too. So and then the great comeback narrative as well.
Irresistible.
So yeah, I have him. I have Brendan, Barry Keoghan, Paul Dano, and I still have Ben Whishaw, but I can be talked out of him. I just don't know. Like similar to Best Actor, I don't know who I would put in there.
So the reason this is a category where I feel like there's a lot of like good performances in movies that will not get a lot of nomination support, right? So like Brian Tyree Henry, I think stands out to me as like a person I've had in a lot. Same with Eddie Redmayne, 2 actors I've had in here multiple times and even at the same time. But I was just like, again, maybe overthinking it. But this weekend, I'm like, man, are you going to watch those movies if you're a voter and you haven't seen them already when you only are really going to consider it for the one performance? Or are you just going to be like, nah, fuck it, Tom Hanks, that kind of. Like, I don't know. I really don't know. So I'm just like, that's why I put Tom Hanks in, even though he's got he's 100 to 1 in our odds. It's like,
yeah, like supporting categories are kinder to coattails. Like it's very rough out there for a lone nominee.
Right. And so I'm like, Barry Keoghan could get in for sure. Like, I mean, that's like an easy one to put in, but I'm like, can the movie support too? Judd Hirsch and Paul Dano, I'm still not convinced both of them can get in. I could see a scenario where neither one gets in, or maybe just Paul Dano gets in, or just Judd Hirsch. I mean, I have them both in for now because, again, I think the narrative on Judd Hirsch is like irresistible, and he is an amazing part of the movie, even though he's only in one scene. And Dano is awesome, but it's a subtle performance, and maybe he kind of misses out. But like we've said, it's the end of the movie, is he owns the end of the movie, and so like that really helps too. But yeah, I put Tom Hanks in over like Brian Tyree Henry, Eddie Redmayne, Brad Pitt. So
you did have Brad for a hot minute.
I did. I'm just like, I don't think there's going to be a lot of support there. I don't know. I don't think there's going to be a lot of movement there for him. And Ben Whishaw, I have not really considered putting in. I just think the movie he's fine in the movie. He's very good. But I think there's going to be other performances that people like more.
I mean, I put Ben back in when I dropped Brad like a month ago. Mostly because at that point I hadn't seen Babylon yet. But right. But it felt like Women Talking was getting in elsewhere. Right. So I wasn't, even though I love Brian Tyree Henry and Causeway. It's like I can't commit to the lone nominee. I
mean, that's it, right? Like,
and get burned.
There is like, unfortunately, I mean, like you said earlier, like from like the Oscars and the Emmys are kind of meeting in the middle, or at least all these award shows are, where it's like everything comes out at the same time, and there is less of a priority for people to like. People are just kind of throwing their hands up and then just watching maybe like a 10 or 15 things
with high visibility.
And so they're only watching like the 10 or 15 things that they want to consider. So that's how you end up with like 6 White Lotus cast members getting nominated or whatever, right? And so like this year, I feel like you could see similar things where it's like, oh, The Fabelmans gets like 4 acting nominations, right? Like it could happen, or Elvis and gets Tom Hanks in, or, you know, whatever it is. I'm just like, Everything Everywhere gets like 4 acting nominations. I just feel like people are going to watch the same movies and they're just going to pick from those movies and not go beyond the immediate like viewfinder in front of them. And like, so a guy like Brian Tyree Henry is just not going to get in. But I think this could, I mean, a performance like this, I would say for the next thing with him I would say like if he's in would get him in.
Yeah,
you know, that kind of
like
thing.
you need like a top vehicle.
Yes, like if the
like
next
Causeway
movie
is a great movie, but it is very small.
Right.
Now,
if he gets like we said, like he needs to start winning things. So like if he wins at New York Film Critics Circle on Friday, let's say, which I think could be a possibility because I know a lot of like the people in the New York Film Critics Circle have responded positively to Causeway, right? You could read their reviews and stuff, and like they like him. If he ends up like gathering momentum from that, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, maybe I'll check that out, right? Or, you know, if he wins like certain things and gets in at SAG or whatever it is, you know, I could revisit this and maybe he is a lone nominee. But right now I'm just like, Tom Hanks, baby, let's go.
I mean, we did this with Ruth Negga last year when we're like, oh my God, she actually made SAG. Like she's good now, and she wasn't.
Right. So
because she was going to be a lone nominee for Passing, and no one was watching Passing.
Right.
So, yeah. But it's just, I mean, this also goes back to why I want Best Picture to just remain 5. Because like, you know, we're still struggling to fill out the solid 10 now. And it's like, yeah, like some people might not make the time or have the time to check out everything. But like when you have 5 nominees, like chances are you've probably seen, like if it's like Top Gun Maverick, like you've already seen that. You've probably seen like 1 or 2, maybe 3 of these movies already, like after nominations. And then you're like, okay, I just have to watch these 2 other nominees and I'm set. But if you've only watched 3 of the 10, then it's like, oh fuck, I have to watch 7 movies, and these movies are 2.5 hours long, 3 hours long,
and they're
like,
all
no
misery.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, Glass Onion, baby. People are gonna be like, I want to watch that.
Yeah, but like my friends are like this. Like I think I've said this before. Like they asked me like what of the Best Picture nominees they should watch, because they're not gonna watch all 10.
It's true. And I mean, my personal opinion of this year is that there are a lot of very good movies, and there's not a lot of movies that I feel like I'll be like loving for the rest of my life, except for like Top Gun and The Fabelmans. So I just feel like that's a lot of people maybe will feel the same way, that are you going to want to watch these movies? I don't know. I don't know if people are going to want to watch them. So
yeah,
anyway.
There are a lot of good movies. It's not, yeah, we're not lacking for quality movies.
No.
It's just, I don't know what like the voters, the industries is gonna go for.
I don't know,
you know, or what's gonna click with them. Like at this point last year, like no one thought like Coda, like they're just gonna go all in on Coda.
No, I mean, at this point last year, I was talking about this the other day. I feel like I was hope dicting it in like the 7th or 8th spot of my Best Picture lineup. I always had it in. It was like, oh, it would be great if it got in, because I really loved it.
It was always like 2nd tier, and then it was just like, oh, Troy could be like a dark horse, like an underdog and supporting actor. And
that ended up gathering momentum because Power of the Dog was not a movie that people were like, I really love it and I want to watch, right? Like, I mean, so
and then
like,
it won 2 SAG awards. So then and like they were charming, and super sweet, and like everywhere they went to the White House.
Right. And I mean, this year, like, if there's a movie that's going to be the coda of this year, I would say it's like Everything Everywhere, where it's like people are.
But it's already, that's not the same though, because it's already a hit, and like everyone's already expecting it to get a handful of nominations.
And The Fabelmans is not a movie that's like, I think Fabelmans is like really likable, whereas Power of the Dog was more remote, maybe, or at least not as accessible in certain ways as Fabelmans, which is just like a down the middle mainstream movie.
Yeah, it's in a mid-budget adult drama.
Yeah.
So
do you want to go through the rest of these categories, Joyce, quickly, or should we?
I mean, we could do writing.
So I moved Glass Onion to first in adapted screenplay. I think this is a very fluid category. My nominees are Glass Onion, Women Talking, She Said, Living, and The Whale, which are the top 5 in our odds. I don't know. Actually, yeah, I think they are the top 5 in the odds. Let me look. They are. Glass Onion is now second. I put it in first because I just think, I'm bullish on it as a Best Picture nominee. B, like we said earlier, I think Rian Johnson is not getting the respect as a director, but he's clearly getting the writing respect. And I think it's an easy way to like honor this movie is to give it a screenplay a win and nomination as well. Women Talking, I think, is like a de facto lead here, but similar to Brendan Fraser, has it really won anything? It didn't. I was expecting it to win at the Gothams, and again, it's 5 people voting, so I'm not going to put a lot of stock in it, but it only won. It didn't win. Tar won here, so or in their screenplay category, which is like both adapted and original. But I don't know. I just feel like maybe Women Talking is not the slam dunk here, and Glass Onion, with its twists and turns and a lot of fun bon mots, will take the crown.
Yeah, I mean, it's still early. So I have Women Talking, Glass Onion, She Said, Living, and White Noise.
Wow, you're rolling White Noise.
I know. I mean, I also thought about Bones and All as like the cool nominee.
I had Bones and All in, and I took it out for The Whale. I just was like, I don't know. I'm not. I think Bones and All is like really great, and I definitely have like put it on in the category of good, not great movies, but movies I've thought about like a lot. And this is not just because I interviewed them, Joyce, but I was like, man, I've really thought about this movie. It is like so strange and just so graphic, but also like really kind of burrows in your brain a little bit. But
yeah, so it could be because it's branch voting for nominees. Yeah. So it could be the cool pick. But I've also thought about Top Gun Maverick.
I mean, maybe. Why not? Right? It could easily got in. I put The Whale in just because it felt like a default move, but I'm like, Top Gun, baby, let's go.
So the thing with Women Talking, I think it can, I mean, I don't want it to be, but I can see it sort of following the same trajectory as Power of the Dog last year, when very early in the season everyone just assumed this was a lock for Power of the Dog.
Yes.
And obviously it wasn't. And
I definitely think that's true.
Coda won.
No, I definitely think that's true.
And I mean, right now on November 30th, still very early. So Women Talking could like totally sweep like critics prizes, right? And adapted. But I can see us, we're just like assuming like Sarah Polley will win because this category is also soft. That if people are just not into the movie, I mean, there is a section of people who do not like this movie.
Really, I think that section is called men, Joyce.
Yes, it's true, men, especially cis white men.
Yes.
So, but so yeah, I can see it just kind of petering out, I guess, this same way, especially if there is like a very solid consensus alternative like Coda was to Power of the Dog.
And I feel like that's going to be Glass Onion, but maybe I'm over enthusiastic for Glass Onion because I just love it. But
I mean, it's a great script, Women Talking. But yeah, I'm just wondering if we're just kind of too confident that this is a lock for it right now. I think
we are. And I mean, like, we've talked about this. I mean, like, I'm like, and I'm sure like I'll get like, I don't want, I'm like not convinced she'll get in for director. I'm nervous about that too. I haven't taken her out.
We've talked about that before too.
I'm just like, I don't know. I mean, obviously the movie hasn't come out yet, and they're kind of like not going to really start in earnest, like pushing it with its like magazine covers and all these like big, I'm sure there's a big press push to come for it, but I'm just worried that at the end of the year here, when you have Babylon and Avatar as these massive movies with like a lot of running time and noisy casts and all this stuff, is Women Talking going to get lost in the shuffle?
Imagine
I hope
the Women Talking bombs at the box office headlines.
I mean, it's like obviously going to bomb. I don't even think that's controversial. Like, it is, right? Like, no one is going to.
But like those are coming. Like,
yeah,
like,
well, especially right, because we've seen there's a again, Joyce, I don't know if you noticed, but there's a predilection online to want to dunk on the movies with women for bombing and not the movies with men for bombing.
Yeah, Bones and All, again, didn't do that great. Again, I don't care. Did not expect it to do well, but no one's talking about that.
No. So yeah, we'll look forward to that when it'll be like, will Harvey Weinstein send a carrier pigeon from jail about how Woman Talking's bombed too? I don't know.
Harvey Weinstein's spokesperson.
Sure.
Not Harvey Weinstein.
Sorry. My mistake. And then original screenplay, Joyce, I have Banshees at the top winning. I have Everything Everywhere, The Fabelmans, and then I have After Sun and Tar. A lot of ways to go in this category, but I think there's a lot of affection for After Sun, especially I could see writers really responding to it, and Charlotte Wells is like a breakout filmmaker this year, and it's a great way to honor the movie. So I have it in.
I have Fabelman's Everything Everywhere, Banshees, Tar, and Triangle of Sadness.
Going down with the ship.
So I mean, I think it's like 3 like big categories. I think this is its best shot at a nomination.
Yeah.
So I mean, even though like supporting actress is like very open and Dolly could get in, but I feel like she might be more of like a critics thing too. So
one thing I wanted to bring up was Nope here, Joyce, with Jordan Peele. Obviously a writer, a former winner in the category. It's a great movie. Watch it again. Love it so much. But do you think he has any shot?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
That's it. How about a couple others? Woman King?
That would be cool. But I don't know if the screenplay is what people talk about.
Elvis?
Probably not. I mean, that it would have to be like really, really big. For also like there's like 5 credited writers on that because it's like a story credit. Boz is like working with like 3 people.
and then the last one, we haven't really talked about this a lot, but how about RRR here as a screenplay nominee?
I don't think so.
And do you think that has any shot as the international director spot?
Probably not. I would probably no. I
no. Okay.
Like I think it's really cool and it'll be fun to see it get in somewhere, but yeah.
I kind of agree. I would say I was talking to my mate. I saw that at the theater. You saw it on Netflix, I would imagine, right?
Yes.
So my buddy watched it on Netflix and he was like, he did not like it at all. But I was like, in the theater, it's great because it was like really great experience. And then also you have like a built-in intermission. Like they had like an actual intermission in the theater. Movies should do intermissions. That's my hot take.
Yeah, especially movies this year when you're 3 hours long.
Babylon could use one. Avatar could use one.
So Babylon, I think Babylon's probably still in 5th overall, right?
Yes.
I dropped that long ago.
I think no matter what I think will happen with Babylon, I would be absolutely stunned if it got in for screenplay. I just don't see that. That's not a spot where I think it will get honored.
Yes.
But I think he could easily get in for director, like we've talked about, and all.
Yeah, it has a lot of very showy directing.
Yeah, and I have it. We won't go through these other categories because I mean, Jesus, we're talking for a while about this, but I have it represented in a lot of the below the line categories here. So, and remain bullish on it there. Joyce, so we have this week we were going to do briefly stuff coming out here. Emancipation in theaters Friday.
Yeah, and then on Apple next week, and tonight, Wednesday, is the premiere.
So they're really keeping a tight lid on this one.
Well, their rollout has been very calculated. Remember when they initially just screened it for like Black coalition groups and stuff with Will, and that's how everyone was like, "Oh, they're going through with this."
I know someone.
And then he had his celebrity viewings with like Rihanna and everyone.
And Trevor Noah obviously saw it. He was talking about it. I've talked to at least 2 people who've seen it. It's incredible. No surprise based on the subject matter. An incredibly brutal experience to watch. Apparently, it does not shy away from the violence and the trauma and the horrific actions of slavery. And then, so that's just of a note. If you're gonna pop it on at home, I feel like maybe.
Well, I think if you know going into it that it's a slavery movie, even though I know Will Smith does not define it as such,
it's a freedom movie.
Yes. Yeah, a freedom movie. I think you just need to be in the right frame of mind for this movie.
And I guess we'll see how we have not seen it. I have not really even gotten a lot of emails about it, I'll be honest, but it comes out
again, like you said, they're keeping tight lid on it.
I mean, we'll obviously watch it before the end of the year. I would say I think it's a long shot at this point in a lot of the categories, but I guess, the focus is definitely in the press tour. If you take a shot every time they say Bob Richardson, you would be well inebriated.
I have him in cinematography, and you laughed in my face.
I did, because I just think it doesn't. The trailer made me think no, but they're definitely going. Bob Richardson is the don't forget Bob Richardson. So I think if it's going to get a nomination, that would be a great spot for it. I think Antoine Fuqua they're pushing as this is his masterpiece. I'm not sure. I love Antoine Fuqua. I'm not sure there's a great groundswell of like, this is a guy who should have an Oscar nomination by now, even though I would agree he should, but that's definitely what they're going for. And then like Ben Foster, people love, but I got to say, man, Ben Foster and Hustle, let's do it. But no, I haven't seen Emancipation yet. So I would say those are the categories that they're like kind of focused on based on the press tour.
Yeah, well, also like the talking point of Will is that like, you know, they want to release this movie now because they want to get the story out there, and he hopes his actions did not penalize the movie and hurt his entire cast and crew.
I kind of think that's an incredible angle. I gotta say, like, I mean, not even to sound cynical, I was like,
but it's also like a natural angle too. Like, I don't think it's a surprising angle.
No, but basically what you're basically telling people and is that if you're not voting, like
you don't need to vote for me.
Well, like also just like, I think it's like having that in people's minds will help, right? Like, I think you're going to be like, oh man, am I really going to, movies are a communal, like it takes a village to make a movie. So are you really going to penalize like all these people because of Will Smith? Do you really want to be that person, right? If you're a voter, and maybe not.
Yeah, especially, you know, when last year when he won after slapping Chris Rock in a ceremony during which they cut 8 categories from the live show, which will be back now next year.
Yes. Oh, we can talk about that too. I took issue with how that was reported, Joyce. What would you might not be surprised with? But I just want to read what Will Smith said this week on the Trevor Noah Daily Show. He said, it's the idea that they might be denied because of me is like, that is killing me dead. The thing that is so critical for me is that these people came and they trusted me and they were down for me. And I just hope their work will be honored and their work will not be tainted based on a horrific decision on my part. So I could see that really resonating. I think people will not want to punish these people for Will Smith, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is, you know, like great. I mean, I do think, you know, he is genuine about that, but it's also great crisis management. You know, this would make a great Scandal episode.
Yeah. And we'll see. I mean, like, I think it depends. I mean, I have no idea the reviews, what they're going to be for this movie. And I have no idea what the response is going to be. I know there are certain pundits who are bullish on it. They've got it in their predictions.
Yeah, I think does embargo lift tonight after the premiere? Let me see.
I guess so. But I don't really, again, I don't know a lot of people who have seen it. So I would love to know what kind of embargo it's going to be.
I think I don't know. Is it in here? Yeah, reviews. Yeah, it lives tonight. Well, by the time this airs, this episode, yeah, right. They'll be out Wednesday, November 30th, 10 p.m. Pacific. So
there you go. Other stuff, Joyce. Top Gun coming back to theaters.
Back to theaters. When are you seeing it? Did you already get your tickets?
No, I didn't get the tickets because I have it on DVD already. So I got the Blu-ray.
You're not going to go back for the full theatrical experience, even more.
I rewatched it recently. We've already seen it 3 times this year, so I'm like, good. I feel like great movie. You know, why not? And then The Whale, Joyce, premiered last night. This is on Tuesday night in New York, and comes out next week, I guess. So they're going to start rolling out The Whale, which I will say, based on how the other serious dramas have done this year, will not be a movie that burns up the box office.
I can see. I don't know what. I mean, like, I don't care. Like, I can see there being a lot of, I guess, early interest in it, I guess, but mostly from like cineasts.
A lot of cineasts, I think.
Yeah, like I think like those are the people who are gonna go out to see it opening weekend. And then, I mean, like none of my friends have ever heard of this movie, so
no. And then Joyce, in the last one I wrote down here was Pinocchio, which comes out, I believe, next week. You saw it.
I did. I saw it last night. Very cute. Great. Just production overall. Just the stop motion, and then like everything feels. It sounds so dumb, but everything feels like real and tactile.
That's cool.
I will also say that a gentleman in my aisle left after 30 minutes. I thought he was going to the bathroom and he just never returned.
Awesome.
So, but yeah, very, very pretty movie. And then there's some scenes with people crying, and the tears, like they went like really like super into the tears and making them like realistic. And there was like more tears I saw in these characters' eyes, like Candlewick's eyes. And Geppetto's eyes than I saw in Zen McGrath when he was crying in the sun.
Wow. Bold.
It was like a lot of tears. But yeah, a great voice acting work. As you know, Cate Blanchett is also a voice in this film. She voices Spazzatura, a monkey.
Okay.
So great stuff.
Did you move it into any other categories? I know you had it in score, I believe.
I had score, a very cute, charming score. I know Alexandre Desplat said he just used wood instruments for it. And so if you go into the movie knowing that, you are definitely hearing it, like you're on the lookout for it. So I kept it in there. Yeah, I still have it in first for animated. I did not move it in anywhere else. I feel like it's an anime movie, so I feel like for Best Picture, it would need to. It's on Netflix, so I think it needs to be like a huge like phenomenon, like the way Beauty and the Beast was, or Toy Story 3 to get into Best Picture. And I don't know, because of the fact that it's on Netflix, it would be like that,
Yeah.
So.
I look forward to seeing it. I have not seen it yet. Joyce, I want to soapbox here about the categories. This was the headline I read. Oscars 2023 will include all 23 categories presented live on the air. My issue is they were all presented live on the air. They just weren't presented live in the ceremony.
Yes, it's semantics.
It is semantics, but I was like, I'm a stickler for the semantics.
We know, like, English gets butchered a lot on the internet.
So they were all presented on they were live on the air. I saw them happen.
They need to be presented live during the ceremony.
Yes. And thank God for that, because as we know, that was a total disaster. I'm all for changing this, and I was last year, but when the show is 20 minutes longer,
it didn't make it any shorter.
Made it longer. I mean, holy cow, what a disaster.
And again, it's just so disrespectful to these artisans who are part of the filmmaking process. Like, we know the actors sell the Oscars, the ceremony, whatever, and sell movies, but they wouldn't be in movies, or their movies wouldn't be made if it weren't for all these other behind the scenes people who are part of it.
Yeah.
So, and this is like supposed to be like the biggest night of their lives. Yeah, and you're undercutting them by delaying their speeches.
It was
having them accept in front of like 50 people, including Jessica Chastain, who would not miss it. So
obviously. So Joyce, we have two more things I wrote down. We have the New York Film Critics Circle on Friday, and then we have some listener emails. The New York Film Critics Circle, like we were saying, I have no idea what's going to win or where they're going to go. That's my big preview of it. I don't know.
Well, so last year, Drive My Car won Best Picture.
Yes.
And as we know, Lady Gaga won Best Actress.
Yes. So we were talking.
They have not matched Best Actress in a while.
So a lot, and I would say based on like what we've just talked about for an hour about like the categories, not a lot of these performers feel like very like Austin Butler is not. I would be shocked if Austin Butler.
He is not a highbrow critics pick. No. Honestly,
same with Brendan Fraser. I feel like for that group, and maybe even Colin Farrell, though I think he is the most realistic.
No, I think like Colin and Paul Mescal. I think I would lean towards them being the highbrow critics picks.
And I guess I would say like Cate Blanchett certainly seems like the front runner there for Best Actress. I think for supporting actor, I could see a lot of support, honestly, for Ke Quan, even though it's like a mainstream movie now. I think that the critics in New York seemingly did really respond to him as well. And you also have to think this is an event where they want people to come and like have viral moments. He would be a great winner, certainly. So I think he could win, or Brian Tyree Henry. I can see
Brian winning. I don't know who else. Like maybe Barry. I can't really see who won, but Cody won last year, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping for just some wild picks here. Like I'd love to see Adam Sandler win for Hustle. I just feel like Get Sandman.
They'll probably just come in their actress category. So like they've given it to Regina Hall, and who else?
Lady Gaga.
Given it to? Just they haven't. Here, let me pull it up. So last year
Cameron Diaz, they famously gave it to.
Oh yeah, Lupita for us snubbed. Regina Hall snubbed. Sydney Flanagan snubbed. So their last winner who was a nominee at the Oscars was Saoirse Ronan for Lady Bird.
Wow. So I guess we'll see. I'm hoping for some wild picks. I honestly am. I just would love to see it.
Yeah, I don't. Well, because they also have to go through rounds of voting.
Right.
So it's like, I don't know. Like, I feel like it's, like your choices might change or have to change because like your favorite falls out.
Right. And I'll be
So,
curious to see what wins like Best Picture. I mean, I know that group certainly does have a lot of affection for Fabelmans, but again, it wouldn't seem like they haven't really gone for that obvious pick since, I mean, American Hustle they did, remember, was like a
wild
fever dream that group did it. But yeah, they don't always go for the obvious pick. Like you said, like Drive My Car won here last year. I mean, what would you say is like the Drive My Car of this year that the critics will like love?
You mean like an international film?
Yeah. Or just like an indie movie that people aren't expecting, I guess.
I mean, maybe like All the Beauty and Bloodshed.
Right.
I could see Tar just winning Best Picture.
I mean, Tar definitely seems like a possibility here, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, remember they gave it to First Cow 2 years ago.
So it's definitely like a group that goes to the beat of its own drums, I would say.
I know. I mean, they also gave it to Irishman.
But that feels appropriate, right? Based on this group. I mean, like, I would say for me, it would be like After Sun again, I think could be here. Like people really love it, but I think they have a first feature or break, category.
Yeah, I mean, they also they gave it to La La Land too, right? I think they did.
I honestly could see RRR winning here. Certainly winning something. The New York film critics in that group love the movie. So I would not be surprised if RRR ends up with like either a directing win, cinematography win, or even Best Picture. Or I guess it could be international feature.
They gave it to La La Land. Do you think Spielberg will win?
I do think Spielberg will win. Yeah. I think, again, thinking of they want people to come to the dinner. Not that anybody's corrupt. And I'm friends with a lot of these people. Joyce, I'm not like besmirching their honor, but I would say I think that Spielberg would win. I don't know if Fabelman's win Best Picture. I think there could be something else there. I don't know what's going to win in the acting categories. I do think RRR could win something. Decision to Leave and Return to Seoul, I think I would flag as like possible winning something movies.
Yeah, I think Screenplay is probably between Banshees and Tar.
Yeah, I mean Tar, like you said, I think could go pretty far with that group, but I guess we'll see.
I mean, so Power the Dog won 3 last year, right? But not Best Picture.
Right. So
I'm
excited. I am excited because I feel like this is a year where you're not really sure, because a lot of the split between what we think is like an Oscar movie versus like the critical movies, I think is very wide.
Yeah, and then also this is, it doesn't really reflect how Oscar voters would feel anyway, because this is critics, it's not the industry. This is just good ink for whoever wins.
Right.
So
it has no bearing on the industry unless people pay attention to it, right? But I'm like,
yeah, it's just good headlines, and again, you can use it in your marketing and your campaign,
right.
and it's also one of the oldest critics group, so it's prestigious.
Yeah.
So people know what it is. It actually, like you said, it has a ceremony and the stars attend.
Right. So it's a great stop on the trail. Joyce, we'll end with listener emails. In a couple of weeks, we're going to do a mailbag episode. So get those emails in at slugfest@goldderby.com. I'm not going to spell it because I don't know how to spell. But we have a couple here I wanted to write. Speaking of After Sun, Matthew writes, After Sun is my favorite film this year. Not only is it a beautiful and moving act of remembering, but I believe it is also a breakthrough in cinematic language that transcends typical awards fare. What do you both think of the film and its chances? Joyce, I talked to Paul Mescal this week, so I'm in the tank, obviously.
Of course, and you're not even predicting him, no. So that is the biggest twist.
Joyce, what do you think of its chances?
I really like the movie. Gorgeous. And I do agree. It's a great like memory. I tend to like movies that are like memory pieces or play with memory. And great performances by Paul and Frankie Corio, but I think it's just kind of small. I would like to be proven incorrect. Like, it would be great if it just really takes off with, the precursors and like the Oscars. But I think it might be one of those like passionate critics things or film Twitter things that just can't get over the line at the end to get in. But this would, it's probably just, it's a great like stepping stone for Paul for his like next vehicle, and maybe like he can get in for that.
So I would say, like, I definitely don't think it's out of the question that he gets in, because like we said, best
No,
actor
it's just more, it's a very much a dark horse.
And like, you to get in, you just need a lot of passionate support, right? And
like I think he has passion.
I think he could have passion. He could get in. I think Frankie Corio could make if she wins one of these, like, you know, she didn't win at the Gothams, but if she ends up winning one of these and gives like a great speech, I think like it's tough for a kid to get in lately, we've seen, but I'm like, she could get in. She's really great in the movie. But I do like we had said earlier, I think screenplay is a legitimate option here, and like would be a worthy way to recognize it at the Oscars.
It's gonna pick up a lot of like first time like feature screenplay awards and breakthrough stuff for Frankie.
And the screenplay nomination would be like worst person in the world style, I feel like, from last year.
Yeah, like they could have like cool picks in there,
and we've seen that win. So right. So yeah, David, here's another one, Joyce. David writes, do you think speaking of Spirit Awards, Joyce, do you think the Spirit Awards could have an impact on the final voting of the Oscars, since the ceremony will be 1 week prior while the Oscar voting is still happening? If Everything Everywhere sweeps, could that have an impact on whether it wins major awards at the Oscars?
No. I mean, like, it's
sorry, David.
No, I don't mean to be blunt. I mean it more that like I feel like by that point, like at like 1 week out, like things will have already like coalesced.
So
you know what I mean? Like we will have so much data by that point,
right.
That unless like it's like really a different winner everywhere, which in that case, like then if Everything Everyone's like, I don't even know, like does that even give it an edge if we have different winners everywhere, you know? So I just feel like, yeah, like if like I could totally see Everything Everywhere winning everything, including the Spirit Awards. So then we'll all just be predicting Everything Everywhere anyway.
So I think right now we would say like Kiyu Kwan, like we said, seemingly a steamroll winner, perhaps. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't, if he wins at the Spirit Awards, would not be surprised and wouldn't change anything. I don't know. Michelle Yeoh, I still think has a tough competition. There's so many options in lead performance at the Spirit Awards and just best actress in general. We'll see. Maybe, like you said, the precursors will have pointed us in that direction. But I think if it wins Best Picture, it will have already won probably a SAG award, right? At that point, maybe.
Like it probably will win SAG Ensemble. It can win like a Globe Comedy,
and it could win PGA if there's like a strong momentum there.
Yeah, it could win Critics' Choice.
And so there's going to be a lot of coda-y like tea leaves there, and then it just wins at the Spirit Awards, even though obviously like and then just goes, and we'll just be like, oh, of course it's going to win Best Picture, right? Like it's very easy to imagine that kind of those dominoes falling in that order. So I don't think it'll affect the voting.
But then it's also still a different system, obviously, between Spirits and the Oscars. Sure. It's also it always cracks me up that Spirit nominees announced so early, like in November, and the ceremony is in March. You know, so a lot of things can change between now and then. Because I could say, like, I think I'm predicting Everything Everywhere at the Spirits right now, but a lot of things can happen by March. So yeah, we might not have that
in March. We're still going to be talking about these movies in March. Everything Everywhere will be a year old by that point.
Well, Coda won 14 months after it premiered at Sundance. Oh. So.
Oh man.
But yeah, so I just think like it will just be another notch in Everything Everywhere's belt if it's already like I don't think it's gonna be hurting for wins this season.
No. And we saw that.
And I think like if you like when the people who love this movie. Yeah. So I don't think they'll need to be encouraged to vote for it because it won the Spirit Award.
Yeah. It's true.
So, like they're gonna vote for it anyway. And if you don't like, people who don't like the movie, they're not gonna vote for it, and they're not gonna be swayed to vote for it because they want to, like, be like, oh, I want to vote for a winner because this won the Spirit Award for Best Picture.
Right. So you can email us, Joyce, slugfest@goldderby.com. I think we're gonna wrap up here. Next week we'll have so much more stuff to talk about, right? I guess.
Yeah, well, you're not going to see Avatar next week.
No, so next week Avatar is screening. I'm actually not going because my wife's book, Bring It On, comes out on the Tuesday.
Pre-order it.
You can pre-order it. It comes out on Tuesday, and they're doing a special event. So I'm missing the Avatar screening because of that. But I will see it. So you'll see Avatar next week. You can tell me all about it. And
you
then,
should, after the event, because this movie is like 17 hours long, you should just come to the theater and have her hand out signed
That's
copy.
a good idea. Yeah, it's true.
So, there you go.
And then, like we said, SAG and DGA voting, I think, open next week as well.
Mm-hmm.
So lots to talk about, but we'll be back with more, and my tree will still be here, Joyce. All right, bye.